Hey there and welcome back to Valley por Vida. Now I'm glad that you're sticking with us because before the break we had our trivia time question and guess what? We've got your answer. So if you recall, we asked you to determine which one of these statements is not true, and it's actually the last one. You see, Indiana's state flower is actually the peony, and it's so pretty, as you can see. So if you didn't know that already, well, hey, now you know. And another thing you may have known or heard about is a really fun cooking competition that's got a lot of people excited about. There are a lot of events happening all across our country every single day though. So let's go ahead and see what today's What's Trending story has got cooking up.
It's a competition creating its own heat. An adventure in the culinary crafts. As the judges keep close watch, 6 Illinois teams are vying for the title as the best.
This is intense.
It is. Very.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty calm right now. Just got to get this salmon down, and once it's done, I'm good.
Malachi Baines, one of those competing. Behind the mask is the heart of a future chef.
They're high school kids. They range from 16 to 18.
This is the 22nd ProStar Invitational hosted by the Illinois Restaurant Association. These teenagers who have grown up in the world of Top Chef and so many other reality cooking shows are now getting their chance to shine. Not only with their skills in the kitchen, but in the front of the house. 4 teams here are presenting restaurant concepts of their own creation, including a business plan.
They practice sometimes 8 hours a day, and on the weekends, they're focused. They have to actually try out to be on the competition team. So it's very, it's a big deal to be part of this.
It's inspirational.
Michael Toss is one of the judges and at the top of his game as executive chef at the Witt Hotel. He watches these students with admiration.
Illinois Restaurant Association is just amazing at giving these opportunities to give someone a scholarship to be a chef or do something else. There's so many other opportunities, food stylists, food journalists, so I think there's just lots of different opportunities.
For the 45 Illinois students competing,
well, this is my first time being in a culinary competition, so it's quite fun.
This is a way not only to hone their skills, but get in front of some of the pros one-on-one.
They're exposed to some of the top, Michelin star chefs, along with just James Beard nominees. Some kind of exposure to something that, will really make them understand what the industry is and all that it has to offer.
And if cooking's your thing, then you probably know a lot about the history of art made in the kitchen. But if you don't, not to worry, we'll learn together right now. So first, I think we actually have to break down the word cooking, right? I mean, what is cooking exactly? Well, according to facts.net/cooking-facts, cooking is the art, science, and discipline of preparing food, which makes sense when you think about it because chefs really do know their craft and they hone in on that. It's so interesting how much goes into this field. It also says that humans have been cooking for a really long time, okay, outlining that the art of whipping up food in the kitchen has been going on for about 1 to 2 million years. And the unique utensil of chopsticks, for example, are pretty cool to use, but the site actually says that they were initially invented as an aid to cook, not really to be used as an actual eating utensil that we use, to stick food in our mouths, which I never knew. Now, according to the site, there are about 941,000 chefs across the entire globe. And of course, naturally, with their career field, they know a few things about meals and food preparations that maybe we don't. Take overcooked hard-boiled eggs, for example. The site says that they look greenish at times because they've got a thin green iron sulfide layer that coats the yolk. And apparently, if you're making sandwiches, it's not exactly considered a delectable. The site says that it was actually popularized back in 1762. Apparently, a man named John Montague He had asked his house cook for something that he could eat without having to leave his seat. And then, well, hey, he was presented with what we know today as the sandwich. This is pretty cool. And if you like mushrooms in your sandwiches, then you may be interested to know this. Apparently, the special polymer chitin, according to the site, is actually what gives the mushrooms their texture. And I never knew that. I mean, I really don't eat mushrooms too much, even as a vegan, but I do love to put sea salt and black pepper on a lot of my dishes. But apparently, black pepper was a really valuable commodity in the Middle Ages. The site says that there was a scarce supply of various goods, and that's when different spices were introduced. Now, with us, using different kinds of spices almost every day, we love it. And if you're smart about your cooking, it can keep you healthy, of course. Actually, a recent study came out saying that the city of McAllen was the most obese and diabetic city in the entire country. So our team went ahead and visited with a medical professional for some tips on what we as a community can do to change this statistic.
There was a new study that was done recently involving many communities that was with the concept of investigating why we have such a high prevalence and incidence of diabetes. Here, what they found in our Rio Grande Regional Valley, which is really going to be the McAllen-Edinburgh region, which is what was really studied, is that they found that they classified us as the highest amount of diabetics per capita, which includes also morbid obesity. So the main thing about obesity is that we have to remember that obesity is really a measure of your body mass, which means how much fat plus total weight do you have versus the height of a patient. And based on that calculation, we have a graphic, and then that graph is going to give us a BMI schedule, which is the body mass index of patients. So a patient that is taller obviously can have a higher weight versus the majority of our South Texas residents that we're not quite short like we used to be, but yet we're not as tall as other communities. So when we take into account how obesity is going to be correlated with diabetes, the majority of the time we have to take a step back and understand exactly what diabetes is. So diabetes is a metabolic disorder. And this metabolic disorder, what it means is that we have an issue where patients are going to be eating food as we normally do, and that food is going to contain one of three substances or a combination, which is going to be our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates that we translate into sugars. When we have an overabundance or a imbalance of this amounts of sugar / carbohydrates that we're eating, then we can have metabolic disorders because the body is not able to handle them. And the concept of diabetes is an unbalanced diet that at one point gets to where our diabetic patients have a higher incidence of carbohydrates in their diets. So higher carbohydrates in the diet equates more incidence of diabetes. In turn, higher incidence of carbohydrates in the diet also equates to obesity.
Again, this study doesn't have to account for our futures, so let's just try and take these self-management strategies and tips into our heads and really implement them into our lives. This way we can maintain a healthy lifestyle and, of course, live longer and happier here in our community. All right, that's all we've got for now. Thanks again so much for joining us today, and be sure to tune in again next time because we'll have a lot more in store for you. But for now, don't forget to follow our team on social media for exclusive behind-the-scenes sneak peeks at what we've got filming for the show, and of course for your chance at your comment or, hey, even your question to be featured on air. And you can always visit valleycentral.com to rewatch some of today's favorite segments. We've got all that and so much more next time on Valley Vida. We'll see you then.